Have you ever felt the sinking weight in your chest when you start to notice that something isn't right, but you can't put your finger on it? A shift in her tone, a distance in her eyes, an excuse that sounds too polished to be true. Men often sense it before they ever have the courage to admit it. The betrayal you never wanted to imagine. And yet, what nobody tells you is that female cheating is rarely about impulse. It's about silence, secrets, and shadows she hides even from herself. Tonight, I want to pull back the curtain on the side of infidelity that almost no one dares to discuss because it's not flattering, it's not convenient, and it doesn't fit the soft narratives you've been told. The dark side of female cheating is not just about desire, it's about power. When she strays, it often isn't just for passion, it's because she feels an intoxicating sense of leverage to know that another man desires her, while you remain in the dark, gives her a psychological high that feeds her ego. That isn't something society wants you to hear because we've been trained to believe infidelity is only about unmet needs, about romance gone stale, about emotional connection. But the truth cuts deeper. Sometimes it's about validation, sometimes it's about control, and sometimes it's about proving to herself that she is still wanted, even if it means burning the stability of the relationship you thought was safe. You see, what most men don't realize is that cheating is often premeditated long before the first kiss or the first message. A woman can emotionally check out, build a secret world in her mind, and prepare her escape routes without you even realizing it. While you think she's scrolling through harmless posts, she might be planting seeds of attention elsewhere. This isn't about demonizing women. It's about understanding the psychology behind betrayal so that you aren't blindsided by it. Because when you fail to understand, you leave yourself vulnerable to illusions, and illusions are what destroy men the fastest. This dark truth is rarely spoken out loud. Cheating isn't always a mistake. Sometimes it's a decision, a cold, calculated one. And the moment you recognize that, you stop living in denial and start seeing the world for what it is, not what you wish it to be. Think about this for a moment. How many men do you know who walked into a breakup or a divorce convinced they were blindsided, only to find out later that she had been gone long before she ever said the words? This is the part of cheating that's almost invisible, the stage that takes place in silence. When she withdraws, when she starts to ration intimacy, when her attention is no longer with you, but somewhere else entirely. By the time most men recognize it, the betrayal is already set in motion. Women are masterful at creating emotional distance without sparking suspicion. They can smile, laugh, and keep the daily rhythm alive, all while their hearts are secretly drifting into another man's orbit. This duality is what makes it so dangerous. You're not dealing with sudden explosions, you're dealing with subtle erosion. And erosion is what eats away at men quietly until the foundation finally collapses. Here's the uncomfortable truth you are never supposed to know. Many women who cheat don't actually want to leave their partner. They want both worlds. They want the security you provide while indulging in the thrill someone else offers. It's not always about replacing you. It's about supplementing what they feel is missing inside themselves. That's why so many men are shocked when the truth comes out. They think, but she still cooked dinner. She still slept next to me. She still said she loved me. What they don't realize is that love and betrayal can exist side by side in her mind without tearing her apart the way it does you. And here lies the dark psychology. Infidelity for many women isn't always driven by a lack of morals. It's driven by compartmentalization. The ability to separate one life from another, to tell herself that what happens in secrecy doesn't diminish what she has at home. But for you, the man who trusted, the compartments don't exist. Her actions don't split into neat boxes. They cut straight through your sense of worth, your faith in relationships, your ability to ever trust again. If you don't learn to see the subtle signs, you'll always be the man who wakes up too late, piecing together a story that was already written months before. And in that delay lies the heartbreak no man ever truly recovers from. There's a brutal reality that few men want to face. When a woman cheats, it often has less to do with the man she chooses, and more to do with the man she already has. That stings, doesn't it? Because deep down you realize the betrayal wasn't about some stranger being better looking or richer. It was about her perception of you, about how she felt in your presence, about the gaps she believed you couldn't fill. And here's the darkest part. Sometimes those gaps aren't even real. They're illusions born from her own dissatisfaction, her own insecurities, her own need for excitement. Yet you become the scapegoat for her choices. This is the side no one talks about because it forces us to admit something uncomfortable. Cheating is sometimes used as a mirror. Instead of confronting her own flaws, her own restlessness, her own unresolved wounds, she steps into someone else's arms and tells herself, "This is what I was missing." But the truth, she wasn't missing it. She was avoiding herself. And you, unknowingly, became collateral damage in her inner war. Men often torture themselves after discovering infidelity. You replay every moment, every conversation, every decision, asking, what did I do wrong? What could I have done differently? That's the hook that keeps you trapped, believing you were the sole cause. But the darker reality is this: sometimes her betrayal had nothing to do with what you lacked, and everything to do with what she refused to confront within herself. And yet, society rarely lets men see it this way. The cultural narrative tells you she cheated because you weren't attentive enough, you weren't romantic enough, you weren't exciting enough. You carry the burden of failure while she hides behind justification. This is how countless men spiral into self-doubt, tearing themselves apart to fix a wound they never created. But here's the shift you must embrace. Cheating doesn't define your value as a man. It reveals her choices, her character, her unresolved struggles. The moment you separate her actions from your worth is the moment you reclaim your strength. Because betrayal is not a reflection of your weakness, it's a reflection of her shadow. And until you see it clearly, you'll always give away your power to the one who misused it. Have you ever noticed how betrayal always feels bigger when it comes from the one person you thought would never cross that line? That's the hidden cruelty of female cheating. It's not just the act itself, it's the way it dismantles your entire sense of reality. Because when she chooses deception, she doesn't just rewrite the present, she rewrites the past. Every memory you thought was pure becomes tainted. Every "I love you" begins to sound like a lie. Every moment of intimacy feels like it was shared with someone you never truly knew. This psychological warfare is the darkest side of cheating. Because it doesn't end when the affair ends. It lingers in your mind like poison. Long after she's moved on, you're left questioning your instincts, second-guessing future relationships, and sometimes even blaming yourself for trusting in the first place. And that's exactly why so many men never fully heal. They don't just lose her, they lose faith in themselves. What society never admits is that women who cheat often underestimate the depth of the wound they create. They may tell themselves it was just a mistake, just a moment, just something that happened. But for you, it was the shattering of a bond you invested your heart, your energy, and your identity into. For her, it might have been an experiment in validation. For you, it was an earthquake that split your world in two. That imbalance is why men walk away from betrayal carrying scars that last decades. And here's another shadow truth. Cheating is not always exposed by accident. Sometimes women leave breadcrumbs intentionally, not because they want to confess, but because they want to test how much you'll tolerate. It's a twisted way of measuring control, seeing how blind love can make you, and whether you'll swallow the lies to keep the illusion alive. If you've ever ignored a red flag because you were too afraid of what it meant, you know this silent test well. The damage isn't just in the betrayal, it's in the psychological games that surround it. Because once a woman realizes you doubt yourself more than you doubt her, she can manipulate reality itself. That's when men become prisoners, not just of her lies, but of their own denial. And denial is the deepest prison a man can live in. There comes a moment, usually late at night, when the world is quiet. When the questions won't stop circling your mind, you wonder if she ever truly loved you. You wonder if the moments you cherished were genuine or just a cover for something darker. And then the most painful question creeps in. Was I ever enough? That question has destroyed more men than the betrayal itself because it plants a seed of doubt that grows into every corner of your life. The truth is, infidelity isn't proof that you weren't enough. It's proof that she couldn't appreciate what she already had. Think about it. How many men work tirelessly to provide, to protect, to build stability, only to watch it all get dismissed for a fleeting thrill? That's not about your inadequacy. That's about her inability to value consistency over chaos. Some women chase excitement the way others chase oxygen. And when the relationship no longer feels like a roller coaster, they convince themselves something is missing. But what's missing isn't in you, it's in their own restlessness. And yet, here's the cruel irony. The very same women who cheat often expect forgiveness. They want the comfort of your loyalty. After they've gambled with it, they want you to hold steady, while they've already broken the foundation. That imbalance is what traps countless men in cycles of pain, giving second chances to someone who knew exactly what she was risking. But you need to hear this. Forgiveness without accountability is just permission. If she betrayed you and faced no consequences, she learned one thing: that your boundaries are negotiable. And once a boundary is negotiable, it's no boundary at all. The darkest side of cheating is not just what she did, it's how it changes you. It hardens your heart. It makes you suspicious, guarded, hesitant to open up again. That's the long-term cost of betrayal. It doesn't just take away the relationship, it steals parts of your ability to love without fear. But here's where you reclaim your power. Betrayal doesn't have to define you, it can refine you. The scars left behind can serve as reminders of your strength, of what you will never tolerate again, of the man you are becoming. Because pain, when faced directly, can be transformed into wisdom. And wisdom is what keeps you from repeating history. If you've made it this far, it means you already know something deep inside you needed to hear this. The dark side of female cheating is not just about betrayal. It's about the lies it forces you to tell yourself. Lies like, maybe it was my fault. Lies like, maybe if I just loved harder, it wouldn't have happened. Lies like, maybe I can fix this. But let me be clear, no amount of loyalty can fix disloyalty. No amount of love can erase deliberate deception. And no man should ever carry the weight of someone else's choices on his shoulders. The reality no one talks about is that betrayal often has nothing to do with you at all. It's about her hunger for attention, her inability to confront her own emptiness, or her desire for validation at any cost. You became the collateral damage in a game you didn't even know was being played. And while that truth hurts, it also frees you, because it means you don't have to keep torturing yourself with what you could have done differently. But here's the most important shift. Being cheated on doesn't make you weaker. It makes you wiser. It doesn't mean you're unworthy of love. It means you're now equipped to demand the kind of love that honors you. Too many men waste years trying to rebuild trust with someone who already showed them who they are. The wiser path is to rebuild yourself, to take the pain and forge it into strength, to set standards so high that betrayal never comes close to you again. And let's be real, you are not alone. Every man watching this knows the sting of doubt, the burn of betrayal, or the fear of it happening. That's why this conversation matters. Because when we silence the truth, men keep walking blind into the same traps. But when we expose the shadows, we step into clarity, and clarity is power. So now I want to ask you, have you ever ignored a red flag because you loved her too much to see it for what it was? Be honest, share your story in the comments because another man might need your truth to wake up. And if this video gave you strength, don't keep it to yourself. Like it, subscribe, and share it with a friend who needs to hear this message tonight. Because sometimes the difference between staying blind and finally seeing clearly is just one truth spoken at the right time.